Desperate people do desperate things. The recent loss of life along the Gaza-Israel border is an example of how desperate the situation is there. The images of thousands of Palestinians hurling themselves at the border fence in the face of live ammunition require context. Behind the fence live almost 1.9 million people. They're inside a territory just 25 miles long and at its broadest, 7.5 miles wide. Israel controls most of the border, except for about 7 miles adjacent to Egypt. The population suffers poor healthcare, high unemployment, and is not free to travel. It's mostly dependent on goods the Israelis allow in via the checkpoints they operate. Since 2007, Gaza has been governed by the Islamist party Hamas. It has an armed wing, which partially explains why many countries boycott it politically and economically. Since 2007, thousands of missiles have been fired into Israel, which responds with devastating airstrikes. The demonstrations were titled the Great March of Return, a return to what is now Israel from where people fled in 1948, the intention to breach the fence. Ahead of the May 14th events, Hamas leaders called on Gazans to kill Israelis and kidnap IDF soldiers. That day, tensions were already at boiling point as the American embassy to Israel moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The usual 5 protest locations were increased to 13, and repeated attempts were made to get through the fence. The IDF used live ammunition in response, killing dozens of people and injuring hundreds. Hamas has since said that of the 62 people shot that day, 50 were Hamas members. Nevertheless, there has been global condemnation of the use of live fire, but the Israeli government says it'll do whatever it takes to defend its border. Over in the West Bank, things are usually more muted. On May 14th, there were sporadic clashes with the IDF, but only a couple of thousand protesters turned out. Why the difference? The West Bank is ruled by Fatah, which, unlike Hamas, did not encourage violence, and indeed has condemned Hamas for using children at the Gaza border demonstrations, whilst also condemning Israeli tactics. This is part of a seemingly irreconcilable split between the two factions, which means the Palestinians are not just divided geographically, but also politically, and therefore are weaker. Perhaps Palestinians in the West Bank have more to lose? Their lives are also hard. They live under occupation, but Gaza is at another level. And there, Hamas glorifies the role of the shaheed, the martyr. Amid the desperation of Gaza, if you feel you have nothing to lose but could gain martyrdom, you might run towards the bullets.